This is a shortened story called Oblivion. Let's just say it all started with the news of the impending supernova. A catastrophic event, they said. The largest mass extinction in recorded history. The powers that be had known about it a full 5 years before they informed the general public, and 2 more before the final solution was revealed. Now, the countdown was here. They had only 4 weeks left of life on Earth. They'd been terraforming Mars and the moons of Jupiter for some time, but when it came right down to it, the resources to save humanity were precious and limited. Just last week, the lottery for a seat on one of the flights to win a chance at life in a new solar system was revealed to be a sham. Tara decided she had enough of merely existing. There had to be more to life before there wouldn't be anything. The first week of the countdown to oblivion was, like everyone else, she hooked up with as many people as possible. The social media sites all had joined forces and made it easy by posting photos and phone numbers of everyone. No stories, no drama, just sex for the sake of sex, comfort and companionship. So she made time with old lovers, friends of friends, Facebook friends, her dentist, a cat sitter, a bartender, her Beyond the MFA group, and like that. She also did Brad Pitt, who turned out to be an actor/bartender who was a Brad Pitt lookalike. She did him twice. By the second week, she was already bored, not to mention sore. That's when she decided to go on a road trip. She gassed up in San Francisco and headed toward LA, although she was never a huge fan. She stopped for her first hitchhiker just as she was pulling up to the freeway entrance near 14th and Division. He was a cute 20-something third-year law student who was celebrating not having to take the bar exam. It took him all of 2 minutes to find his way down her pants. It took her less than that to pull over onto the shoulder, easing her way into a space behind the rest of the cars, whose occupants were all busily humping away. She laughed when he told her that she was the third ride of the day, and he started out 4 hours ago at 4 blocks from the freeway entrance. He lit up a joint and gave her some brownies, which he advised her to save because they were pretty stony. She offered to drive him a ways down the road, but he decided to head back to the freeway entrance where she picked him up. It was his lucky day, he joked. That's how the rest of week 2 went down for her. She drove along the freeway, trailing other drivers who took turns picking up hitchhikers or stopping along the road to get drunk or high. For once, no one seemed to be in a hurry. She finally cleared SFO and stopped for a quick nap. She nearly dozed off when a loud pounding made her jump. It was a cop. Damn. She rolled down her window and the cop leaned in. In the reflection of his sunglasses, she noticed that her top was unbuttoned all the way. Reflexively, she covered herself. The cop responded by removing his shades and pouting. She laughed and asked if he was a real cop. He said there were no more real cops. But yes, he was. Do you want a ride, she asked. I was going to ask you the same thing, he said. 20 minutes later, she gave him back his shades, but not before she gave him a quick spanking. She'd heard somewhere that cops like that sort of thing, and apparently they did. He let her go with a warning. She decided to find a real bed to sleep in and took the first exit on Hotel Row. One of the corporate signs had been changed to read, "Plunge right in," and so she did. The door to 308 was ajar. She made sure the room was empty before she locked it and kicked off her shoes. For no real reason, she set the alarm. She woke to a super bright light forcing its way through skimpy curtains. She jumped into the shower and walked off not only the road trip, but the last 2 weeks of whatever it was she'd been almost mindlessly doing. She never really dated much before the end time. Then she went in search of sustenance. The coffee shop across the way beckoned, and she found herself back in time in a place like that diner in Twin Peaks. Madge came over to take her order. Just coffee and pie. What kind of pie? How about pumpkin if you have it? With whipped cream. Don't make that all a mode with cherries. Lots of cherries. She settled in, waited for something to happen. Looking outside, she watched a cloud of smoke part to reveal its dust storm of bikers. They entered the coffee shop like a tornado, only slightly less reserved. The 2 women were brushing off their leathers and complaining about the heat. The 2 men sat down at her table. She smiled because Jax Teller, her hero from the Sons of Anarchy TV show, was sitting close enough to touch. He winked at her and smiled again, just in case he hadn't caught her first attempt. His name was Jason. When Madge reappeared to coffee everyone, Tara asked for the bill. Madge reminded her what day it was, the beginning of week 3. Bills didn't exist anymore. The coffee shop was just running down its inventory, and the owner had gone fishing. Everyone ate for free. Jason Jackson and the others nodded. It was like that everywhere now. Money was obsolete, and so was homelessness and poverty in general. There was no reason for wars to continue, so they stopped. Everyone was sharing resources right and left. Nothing mattered at the moment. When she awoke, it was hours later, and she felt totally energized. Now was it time for her to get back on the road? She couldn't make up her mind. She stopped trying as Jason Jacks rolled his tightly muscled body back on top of her. He placed a tab of acid on her tongue, and she swallowed it, essentially hitting the snooze button on her life. Good times. It was dark by the time she was able to open her eyes all the way. It was a velvety type of darkness, soft to the touch, sweet to the taste. She was suddenly aware that everything had a musical fragrance. Every pore in her body seemed alive because it was. Her companion was asleep, his body curled around hers. They were spooning, she and this marvelous man she might never have met if the world hadn't been ending. It was just her luck to meet this perfect creature at the end of time. Thank you for that. As if reading her mind, he nuzzled her. What they were both thinking was that they could die happy if the world were to end just then. And so it did. It seems that the scientists and astronomers had truly miscalculated, and there would be no additional 6 days to ponder what could have been. The sun, soul, after 4.5 billion years of providing light to its corner of the universe, imploded and then exploded, going over as a red dwarf, emanating heat and shock waves, incinerating everything within its fiery reach at least 5 billion years earlier than ever estimated possible. The law of expansion exponentially increased the dying of the light, and it would seem that the scientists really miscalculated safe distance. So all the greedy politicians, powerfully privileged, burned to a crisp along with everyone else. How could such a mistake have occurred? Perhaps someone should have been double-checking the crew they had inputting the data. The virus was implanted as a failsafe and only activated when the project team on the ground realized that they would never be leaving the Earth. First of all, and because they were good at math, the programmers figured that the limited number of seats on the spacecraft were already assigned and no others were planned. Besides, they knew the lottery was a sham, so they spent their last weeks erasing everyone's personal debt and, at long last, meeting some girls who would love them for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Casareno from